Good morning. Welcome to Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Reverend Katie McQuage-Loukas, and my pronouns are she and hers. Be welcome on this Easter morning. We are Unitarian Universalists, which means we are a multi-faith community bringing together all of our diversity on Sunday mornings to share with one another the truth and wisdom we have found in the world. On this day, we honor the old stories of Easter. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you have arrived today in body, in mind or spirit, whether you're here in person or joining us online, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. If this is your first time, if this is your 500th time, you are welcome here. We are glad that you are here, and we are glad to be here this morning together. Our opening words are from Reverend Peggy Clark. Easter is a holiday of miracles. It is life from death, joy from sorrow, celebration from mourning. Easter reminds us that all is never lost, that the story continues so long as we are here to tell it. So gather your worries, bury them beneath the ground, and watch them transform into flowers of hope. Pushing through the earth, reminding us on Easter morning that love brings us back to life, calls us from sadness, from grief, from anxiety, into a world renewed, alive, and filled with joy once again. Come and let us worship together.
Steve Jordan will light our chalice this morning. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, with gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, a sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you. Our opening song this morning is number 61, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Our covenant reading this morning is by Esther Hobart, and she says, "It is not always easy to find love at the center. There's not a set of easy instructions. It's not always easy to find love at the center. Today, in covenant, we celebrate our living tradition, which invites us to take deep breaths of fresh air into the newness of every day, so our minds, our hearts, our spirits will be continually nourished. It's not always easy to find love at the center, so for today, we gather in covenant to celebrate the reality that love is at the core of our beings, and that love will guide us if we open ourselves to the challenges which love requires of us. May we accept these challenges with dignity and grace. Please join me now in repeating our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Our responsive reading this morning is number 627 in the Gray Hymnal. Number 627, Seasons of the Self. Please join in with me on the italicized text. We need a celebration that speaks the spring-inspired word about life and death, about us as we live and die. Through all the cycling seasons, days, and years, we need the sense of deity to crack our own hard, brown December husks and push life out of inner tombs and outer pain. Unless we move the seasons of the self and spring can come for us, the winter will go on, and Easter will remain a myth, and life will never come again, despite the fact of spring.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Let me adjust right now. Is it good? Yes? I can hear you. Okay. My name is Gloria Miller, and I am the Director of Religious Education here at Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church. And today I invite all of the young and young at heart to come up to enjoy the story that I have for you today. And you can sit right here. You guys have a front row seat already. Are you able to see the pictures? Yep. Okay. I'm with children today. Perfect.
Can you see okay? Or when you sit in front of me?
Happy Easter. Our story today is the Easter story, and it's written by Brian Wilesmith. Easter is a time to think about the meaning of life and death. We do not know for certain what comes after death, but one thing we do know is that the memories of the people that we love live long after they've died. Now, many of our friends and co-workers follow the Christian faith, and our Christian cousins celebrate Easter because of the events that occur in this story. Once, a long time ago, a little donkey was brought to Jesus. The little donkey had never been ridden before, but Jesus spoke gently to him, and soon he stopped being afraid. Jesus climbed onto the donkey's back, and they set off for Jerusalem. As Jesus and his friends drew near the city, there were great crowds standing along the road. The little donkey was amazed to see so many people. Some had spread their clothes on the road. Branches cut down from the palm trees were spread too, all for him to walk on. Hosanna, the people shouted. Hosanna, it's the man who comes from God. By the time they reached Jerusalem, the crowds had grown more excited. Some people asked, "Who is that sitting on the back of the donkey?" Others replied, "It is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." The little donkey lifted his head proudly as they entered the city. The donkey carried Jesus through the streets until they stopped in front of the temple. People came from all around to pray there. As Jesus went inside, he saw that it was like a market, full of people buying and selling. Angrily, he drove them out, shouting, "It is written, my house shall be a house of prayer, not a den of thieves." Then, every day that week, he taught and healed people in the temple. The donkey stayed with Jesus in the city. Thursday was a holiday, and on that night they walked through the streets to a small house. Jesus went inside to have supper with his friends, and through the window the little donkey saw him breaking the bread. "Take and eat this," said Jesus, holding the bread. "It is my body." And the donkey watched as he lifted up a cup of wine. "Take and drink this," Jesus said. "It is my blood." After supper, the little donkey followed Jesus and his friends to the Garden of Gethsemane, there we go. Jesus said to him, "Sit here and keep watch while I pray." The donkey sat and waited, but everyone else fell asleep. Suddenly a crowd of people came into the garden. They were led by Judas, one of Jesus' friends, and they seized Jesus and dragged him away. Judas had betrayed his friend. The rest of Jesus' friends ran away, and the little donkey and Simon Peter, who didn't run away, followed the crowd through the city. 3 times Simon Peter was stopped. "You are a friend of Jesus," people said. Simon Peter was afraid. "No," he said, "not I." At last they came to the house of Caiaphas, the high priest of the temple. The donkey heard Caiaphas ask Jesus, "Are you the Son of God?" "I am," Jesus replied. The high priest said, "You have heard these terrible words. How can any man speak this way of God? What do you say?" "He deserves to die," everyone cried. The crowd left Caiaphas' house and took Jesus to Pilate, the Roman governor, to see that he was punished. The little donkey watched as Jesus stood in front of Pilate, the chief priests from the temple, and a huge crowd of people. "Are you the king of the Jews?" asked Pilate. "Those are your words," said Jesus. The priests then accused Jesus of many things. "Have you no answer to make to them?" asked Pilate. But Jesus didn't answer. "What shall I do with him?" Pilate asked the crowd. "Crucify him," everyone shouted. "Take him, crucify him then," said Pilate, "and I wash my hands of him." So the soldiers took Jesus away. They put a crown made of thorns on his head, and they made fun of him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said, and they gave him a huge cross of wood and forced him to carry it. "If only I could help him," thought the donkey sadly. But a man did come out of the crowd and helped Jesus carry his cross. The little donkey followed as they led Jesus to a hill outside the city, and there they crucified him between 2 thieves. Late that night, a rich man named Joseph asked Pilate for the body of Jesus. He wrapped the body in a clean linen sheet. It was too heavy for him to carry. Joseph placed the body of Jesus on the donkey's back, and the little donkey carried it to a new tomb, which had been cut out of a rock. Joseph laid the body inside and rolled a huge stone in front of the entrance. Early Sunday morning, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene came to the tomb. But when they got there, they found that the stone had been rolled away and the body of Jesus was gone. The donkey saw 2 angels where Jesus' body had been. "He's not here," the angels said. "He is alive again." Mary and Mary Magdalene left the tomb, and the donkey followed until they came to a garden. A man was standing there, and it was Jesus. The women were frightened, but Jesus said to them, "Don't be afraid. Run, tell my friends to go up to Galilee, and they will see me there." Jesus' friends were so happy to see him again. He stayed with them for 40 days, teaching them about the kingdom of God. But Jesus knew that it was near the time for him to leave the earth. And one morning, he went up to his Father in heaven. The next day, one of Jesus' friends took the little donkey back to his home, and the donkey stayed there for the rest of his life, remembering the kind and good man that he had carried on his back to Jerusalem. And so, it's important to know that today some of us don't believe that these miracles are really literally true, but they do show us what a strong influence Jesus had. And we do know enough about Jesus to admire him for his life as example and his teachings. He was a great man who taught people to love in new and deeper ways. He taught people to love even their enemies. I can't think of a more important thing to teach or to learn. On Easter, Unitarian Universalists remember Jesus in his message of love that doesn't die. You have been very good listeners, and now we're going to go to class. And Remy is going to be our keeper of the flame. Remy, would you like to come get the chalice? We pass this flame of religious freedom from generation to generation.
Each Sunday, we take this moment of pause in our service, a moment to be fully present and bring our whole selves. As we begin our time of candle lighting, I'd like to begin with our red candle of community. It reminds us that we are part of a larger whole. Those of us here in this room, but also those of us who are present in other times and in other ways, the community beyond our walls and the larger ecosystem of which we are a part. Today, as I light this candle, I ask that we remember Judy Bergman, who died a week ago, and we remember her family and all those who love her and hold them in our hearts. I have also lit our white candle. It reminds us that the world beyond our walls is a dangerous one. And on this Sunday of all Sundays, we light it as a message to the world that we will not cease to hope and dream and work for something more, a different world. And we recommit ourselves again to love and justice and peace. Whatever you have brought into this place with you today, whether joy or sorrow, worry or hope, any of the things that make up the fabric of our lives, I invite you to bring it forward and to light a candle. Remember that whatever you have brought with you today, you are not alone. We witness it, we witness you, and we are in this together. If you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand now. Come forward as you feel moved. Every flame representing the spark of life in one of us in this place. The gathered flames are collective dreams and hopes and pieces of our lives. Will you join with me in prayer? Spirit of life, we rejoice this morning seeing the resurgence of life all around us. In every flower and blade of grass, in the coming rain, all things being made new with the turning of the seasons. Life calls us forward, onward, into the now and into the future. Life does not ask that we abandon sorrow, but it does demand that we make room for renewal. Both of these things woven together, the complex tapestry that is our human existence. May we open our hearts to the hopes and dreams that come into the world in spring and summer. May we open our hearts to the abundance beginning in this season. May we seek and find joy, even amid the whirling chaos, joy to sustain us and ground us in the labors of our lives. Spirit of life and love, may we bring forth new life in the world around us, remembering always that it is our hands that do your work in this world. Amen, and may it be so. You are invited to remain seated for our meditation hymn, our prayer and song, O Life That Maketh All Things New.
Our reading this morning is by Rachel Lonberg, and she begins her story with a quote from Wendell Berry. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts. Practice resurrection. She writes, in the church that raised me, there was a woman named Gussie. Gussie was 81 years older than me, and I considered her a special friend. Gussie was the kind of person who about everyone considered a special friend. One of the wonderful things about Gussie was that she dressed for church. She emerged from the struggles of her life with a commitment to beauty and elegance. Her formal suit, hat, gloves, I saw those little girls today and it fit right in with this. They were so beautiful. Stood out in the congregation. Most people in this suburban Seattle congregation dressed in polar fleece and sensible shoes, as if a hike was about to break out at any moment. On Easter, Gussie always outdid herself, wearing an Easter bonnet tastefully done up with flowers and everyone looked forward to seeing the beauty and joy she embodied on Easter morning. Gussie died when she was in her late 90s after a long and meaningful life and a brief illness. She died in early spring, a few weeks before Easter. We all mourned. People shared how they would be sad not to see Gussie in her beautiful Easter bonnet that year. It felt like the end of Gussie's story. Then, someone had the idea that if we wore Easter bonnets like Gussie did, we would keep her alive. The word spread. This Easter morning, the sanctuary was filled with Easter bonnets and other hats on the heads of dozens of people of all genders. It was beautiful. The church had continued that tradition. People wear Easter bonnets and hats every Easter morning. People who loved Gussie, people who never knew Gussie, and people who weren't even born before her death all have been invited into Gussie's story. Her commitment to beauty and joy lives on. While this Easter bonnet tradition has faded some over the years, it has continued. This is my favorite resurrection story. People of all ages and genders wearing Easter bonnets, year after year, in memory of someone that not all of them remember. A triumph of love over death, which is the core of the Easter message. Death is never the end of the story. Gussie's story continues on in the hearts and the heads of the congregation that loved her. In this season of struggle, may we find and create beauty and joy. May we know in our bones that death is not the end of the story. May we practice resurrection.
When Verva brought me that story, I was reminded of a woman named Ruth at my internship congregation who wore hats every Sunday. And she died last year, I think, and every single member of the congregation wore a hat to the funeral, young and old, all genders. And yes, the hats were distributed, and people do wear them to that church every now and again to remember Ruth. She was in her 90s when I knew her. I think she was pushing 100 when she passed away, and she wore a hat every single Sunday. She didn't dress up in other ways, but she always wore a hat. So thank you, Verva, for finding that story. One of the strange things about Easter for Unitarian Universalists is I know that right at this moment, someone in this room believes all the way down to their bones that the story is true, and someone in this room believes all the way down to their bones that it isn't. And so we hold this tension, this creative polarity in this room, with a lot of different people coming at this story from a couple of different angles, so it's always a bit of an adventure for the minister, I think. The oldest of the Gospels is Mark. Unlike the other three, it has less analysis, less narrative. It's a fairly straightforward event and dialogue listing. This happens, someone says this. It's the later Gospels that will add on what makes it a story. This one was mostly meant as a memory reminder, we think, for the person standing up here to have something to look at to make sure they got the words right. It wasn't meant to be read as a story. It's up to someone else, the listener, the reader, to fill in gaps, to make meaning out of these events. The oldest version of Mark ends quite abruptly. There are other versions that have made their way into some Bibles, but the oldest version of the text just stops at verse 8, and I will read it. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so they might go and anoint him. Very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb, and they had been saying to one another, "Who will roll the stone away for us from the entrance to the tomb?" And when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled back. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. But he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Look, there is the place they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. And that's it. That's where it ends. Woven throughout Mark is what scholars call the Markan secret. Repeatedly, the disciples are shown to have absolutely no idea what's really happening and to be very confused and not understanding what Jesus is telling them. People are frequently afraid in Mark and do not speak up. There's this perpetual undercurrent of confusion and muddy waters. Everyone in Mark thinks they're part of one story, and the story turns out to be something completely different, over and over and over again. Mark just barely gets us to Easter. We spend time in Holy Week. We spend time in the betrayal and the death and the grief. And we just begin to see the glimmer of something else, something that might come after these things. But it's not clear yet what that might be. But even before the other Gospels are written, with extra bits of narrative and explanation and other stories collected from the communities, there's a sense of a story behind the story. Mark doesn't say what happens after the tomb, but it's clear that something will happen. The story is told and retold to newcomers and longtime community members alike over the decades and centuries that follow. The text ends, but the story does not. Because no story ever ends. The world keeps turning. Spring comes after winter. All things change. And that means no grief and no sorrow can last forever, and nor can empire and oppression. There's no guarantee these things will pass quickly. The Roman Empire outlasted Jesus and all his disciples, but in time it crumbled. So too one day will the American empire, as has every empire that has ever existed. And enlightened times also cannot last forever, because nothing on earth is eternal. But this time, spring and Easter, this time reminds us that change is always all around us, ready for us to step into it and take part in it. The quest for the historical Jesus is in the bones of our tradition. It was the desire to study Scripture better that led to the intense critical methods, and then those methods led to a lot of doubt and confusion, and the rise of Unitarianism and the slow taking apart of the mystery of Christ in favor of the man Jesus. And that's where we come from, taking it seriously, doing deep study, and grasping the one thing we're pretty sure about, that Jesus taught something worth listening to. And I think that this dismantling of mystery makes Easter harder for us as UUs than Christmas is. We can celebrate the birth of a great teacher. We can step into fables about greatness, but a human Jesus is much more difficult for us, because if Jesus is a man, then he's simply a man murdered by the state, leaving behind a community of mourning and a shattered rebellion, if it had been a rebellion at all. I don't actually dwell much on the historical Jesus or the question of how true this story may be. I'm probably a little bit unusual in that I'm open to it either way. My own spirituality is a place of deep uncertainty. Who am I to say that it did or that it didn't happen? Who am I to affirm or deny the possibility of Jesus? For me, the question is not, did this really happen? The question I always carry with me is, why does this matter? What did this story do in the world? There are many true stories that don't matter very much at all, and there are many mysteries that reshape our world. If a story has resonated for millennia, reshaped politics and geography, and imprinted itself upon most of the globe, it is a story that means something. It is a story that matters. It is a story worth engaging and wrestling and pondering. This Easter story is about a man who was not a citizen, who had fewer rights under the law than the ruling class, the son of an at the time unwed teenage mother, a man who worked with his hands, who studied the wisdom of his people and brought that teaching to others, and who spoke of a different way, a way that would upend hierarchy and make the world anew. It's the story of a man who reached across boundaries of race and class and gender, who called his followers to share all that they had in common, to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to free the prisoner. A man who was much loved and despised. A man whose end came too soon and left a wrenching hole in the lives of those who remained. The women went to tend his body, to do the necessary, ordinary things one must do around death and mourning. But he wasn't there, and they were afraid. They're in this ordinary moment, the ordinary tasks of life, and something strange is happening. And there Mark leaves the story for others to pick up and carry on. I cannot say whether Christ is risen, but I can say that the powers that crucified him faded in that form only to appear in other forms. This story resonates for me because it is still happening. There are still people suffering under political oppression, still people born to poverty, still those who are pregnant, too young, and who are not cared for, but mocked. There are still those who flee persecution, bringing their families into strange and new places, hoping to survive. There are still those who labor, unsure if they will have food tomorrow. There are the hungry, the naked. There are still those who grow wise and speak truth to power. And there are still those who are imprisoned for it and who suffer for it and who may die for it. But at the same time, there are those who carry on the struggle, who continue the work. Those who were inspired by the life of Jesus or the movement of their own spirits to feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, clothe the naked, and free the prisoner. And there are millions of those people, billions of those people living their lives to bring to life the teachings of Jesus, embodying the hope that is promised by the Christian faith. So the powers that crucify are still active in this world, but so are the powers of redemption, healing, and new life. Joy does come after the dark night. I believe that because it is we who bring it into being. The beloved science fiction writer Ursula Le Guin, when receiving an award, was talking about hard times and how we need visionaries and poets to remember freedom. She said, "We live in capitalism, its power seems inescapable, but then so did the divine right of kings. Any human power can be resisted and changed by human beings. Any human power can be resisted and changed by human beings." Whatever the reality of the Easter narrative, it was human beings who carried the message forth, spreading it from city to city, from nation to nation, and on their way, freeing prisoners, clothing the naked. It was human beings who spread care and turned the page, who continued the story and went on to change the world. As individuals, we look at the world around us and we see all that we cannot change. We see the grief and the sorrow that permeates our politics and our personal lives, and it's easy to feel powerless. But we are not. We have the power to organize, to join our strengths and create something new. We have the power to envision a better world than the one we have been given. We are not promised that we will see it today or tomorrow or even perhaps in our lifetimes, but history is nothing but change. Physics is nothing but change. Biology is nothing but change. The world is transformed little by little every single day. The promise of that transformation is visible in all those small changes. This is the promise of life itself, upwelling all around us at all times. This is the promise of the unfolding of the universe continuing to stretch through space and time. This is the promise our human hearts hold when we are committed to the upswelling of life in the expanding universe. The promises we make to one another and to our world that we will be full participants in it. We fulfill those promises to each other every day in all our acts of love and caring, and we make our mark on the world and on each other. So on this Easter Sunday, remember that the universe itself promises transformation. There will be joy. There is joy now. Just as the sun rises in the morning, just as spring inevitably follows winter, remember that there is power in the movement and turning of our world, and that we have a role to play in that powerful transformation. Remember that there will be more joy, because it cannot be stopped or contained any more than life itself can be contained. I have some closing words from Reverend Gene Navius. He was a Unitarian minister in the last century, and he worked long and hard to shape our religious education. Who is to say what Easter is, that we should celebrate this day and sing for joy? Easter is promises remembered and fulfilled of death and life and all that lies therein. It is the promise of the planets in their turn, the infinite fidelity of the stars and suns and seasons. Easter is winter promising to spring that earth shall yield its death to life again. It is the growth promise of the dormant seed, the barren meadow, and the naked bough. It is the birth promise of all creatures which have life and breath and being. Easter is ancient sorrows stilled and hopes remembered. It is the memory of Jesus dying in Jerusalem. It is the promise that the heart shall be reborn as hatred dies and love is given birth. It is the promise that the mind shall be renewed as ignorance is lost to newfound truth. Easter is the promise to everyone who journeys from the death of prejudice to the life of understanding. Easter is promised to everyone who casts away the errors of darkness to dwell within the light. Easter is of earthly promises and human hopes that make the human heart forever young. A song of life which springs from death, a joyous human song, forever alleluia sung. Amen. Friends, this community, it's us, and we take care of each other. We support one another, and that includes the ordinary finances of our church. This is the moment to consider the abundance in your life, and if you have it, to share it with this community. The offering will be gratefully received. Please give as generously as you are able.
Please join me in blessing our offering. This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. And it's time for our announcements. And I always think of this as such a happy moment in the service because it's an opportunity to learn where you can make new friends, where you can share your talents, and where you can just have a good time. So on Sunday, May 4th, after the service, be sure to join us for a vibrant celebration of Latin and Native American cultures at our Cinco de Mayo benefit lunch. The festive gathering will include delicious food, lively music, fun, games, and joyful fellowship. All are welcome. We're asking you to RSVP, though, because we need to know how much food to fix. The proceeds will go to support Casa Juan Diego, so come hungry and ready to support a great cause. On Wednesday, April 23rd, please join us at 6:30 in the sanctuary for a special Earth Day Vespers and meditation on the earth, who holds us and nourishes us. We will light candles for our joys and sorrows, as always, but we will also light candles for our planet and its joys and sorrows. On Saturday, April 26th at 7 p.m., young adults are invited to join our young adult group in Cockrell Hall. There'll be games and laughter, so bring your favorite games and feel free to bring a friend. Also, on Saturday, April 26th, come celebrate the end of April with an adult-only BAUUC party at the home of Chris Rubley. On Saturday, April 26th, 7 to 10 p.m. Both church members and non-members are welcome. Please bring a snack to share and your drink of choice. You can find the address in the weekly briefs or in the order of service. Immediately after the service today, head to the back lawn for our annual Easter egg hunt. Kids should bring their own baskets to collect eggs in age-grouped areas. And afterward, the RE ministry team will have fun activities for the little ones, and everyone can snap festive photos with the Easter Bunny. Bring your family, invite your friends, and join us for a joyful day of fun and community. And finally, be sure to check the weekly email blast for all upcoming events at BAUUC. If you're not on our email list, stay connected by subscribing today. We send out an email every Tuesday, packed with news, events, and updates about BAUUC. Sign up today. Please stand now for our closing hymn, number 21, for the beauty of the earth.
May this be a time of gladness and rejoicing. May you find the joy that comes after darkness and grief, and may you carry that joy throughout the week and months and years to come, and carry it to others who are in need. Blessed be, and go in peace. Sorry, forgot about that part.
It's okay. If you could wait just one moment, I want to explain the Easter hunt this year. It's a little bit different. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I just wanted to explain the Easter hunt before everyone left. The children have explained it too. It's a little bit different. There's 2 areas for the children. Up through 4 years or 5 years old is inside of the playground, and then up through 5th grade is out in the field. I've already explained to them that there's no chocolate in the eggs this year. The chocolate is coming in a different form. So when they have done gathering their eggs, they're going to go into the parlor in front of Cockrell Hall, the foyer, and there are activities set up. The first thing they're going to do, and this is where I really encourage the parents to accompany their children through the different stations, is they're going to put their eggs in a service project that they would most like to engage in this summer. And there's 4 choices. They can put all their eggs in one basket, or they can divide them up, and then the basket that receives the most eggs will be the service project that we engage in this summer. From there on, they go through 7 different stations that represent first love as the core of our faith, and then the 6 values that are that we espouse through love and that we enact in the world: pluralism, equity, generosity, justice, transformation, interdependence. There we go. But for each one, they're going to receive something that is representative of that value, and they'll get their candy at the pluralism station. All right, so we're going to release the youngest first. They're in the nursery, so if the parents of people that have children in the, parents that have children in the nursery can go first, and then, and I've already explained to the children, not the babies, not the toddlers, but I've explained to the older children so they understand they don't open their eggs and see no candy. All right, thank you for listening.
Now let there be music.
This.
They may.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I'm so glad you were here to help.